I woke up in a cold sweat. That was the third time this week. The doctors said I'd have trouble sleeping as my body adjusted to the new left arm. I glanced at my shoulder. The stitching still itched a little, but I'd been assured it would come out soon, and I could go home with my new arm. The accident in the factory could have been avoided if the higher-ups would have shelled out to replace the guardrails. Hell, even so, I should have been more careful not to lean on the old things. But years on the job led to overconfidence, which led to my stupid self getting caught in one of the machines. Thank the marvels of modern medicine. They saved my life, and with recent advancements, I was able to receive a compatible donor limb. The doctors said that in time, I'd be able to control it like my normal arm. I've only recently been able to feel the new limb, but I still can't move it. Maybe I needed more time. The doctor who was in charge of the surgery walked into the room to check on me. Dr. Thorne was a nice guy, and he had a great bedside manner. "Hello, Jacob," he said. "How are we feeling today?" Apart from the itchy shoulder and the nightmare waking me up, not too shabby. I ran my good hand over my brow. Still not able to move the new arm? I felt a twitch in my left arm as he finished his sentence. I think it just moved a little." "Really?" Dr. Thorne stepped around to get a better look at the limb and sat down on the rolling stool. I could feel him probing it as he checked for any reaction, but I still couldn't move it myself. "Anything?" "I can feel it, but I can't move it." The doctor leaned back and sighed. "Well, you can feel it. That's a good start. Your brain is probably still trying to figure out the controls. It's an arm like any other. The controls shouldn't be too different than mine." I lifted my left shoulder and dragged the arm slightly closer to me. I felt every wrinkle in the hospital blanket as the arm slid across them, but I still couldn't lift the limb with its own muscles. Dr. Thorne rolled forward again and reached for my elbow. I relaxed back onto the pillows. In a flash, my left arm shot up and grabbed Dr. Thorne by the neck. I didn't do that. Dr. Thorne strained to get my hand off of him. "Jacob, let go of me!" My eyes shot wide. "I'm not doing that. That's not me." I fumbled for the nurse's call button with my other hand and jabbed it repeatedly with my thumb. My grip tightened around Dr. Thorne's neck. A nurse came in after a few horrible minutes of our struggle. Her mouth dropped open. In a flash, she leaned out the door and called for help. An orderly rushed in and grabbed my arm. He pried my hand off Dr. Thorne. The man who I'd nearly strangled jumped up and staggered away. "Jacob? What the hell was that?" I panicked. I didn't know what else to say. I swear to God that wasn't me. My arm moved on its own. Sweat beaded on my brow as I shook in terror. Dr. Thorne composed himself and straightened his collar. He cleared his throat. "It's, possible that there may be a few crossed wires in your new arm. I'll order more tests immediately." "I should hope so. I don't want to spontaneously strangle my family." I lay back in the bed again. After the three left, I tried to move my arm again. Nothing. No subtle movement, not even a twitching finger. Why did it suddenly move like that before? From an outside perspective, it may have looked like an accident caused by frayed nerves, but I felt the thing move. I felt how the muscles flexed. That was far too coordinated, like it acted on purpose. Honestly, that scared me a lot more, as it wasn't my purpose. I woke up late at night in another cold sweat. A tug at my shoulder dragged my attention to my left. I almost screamed when I saw my left hand suddenly rush to cover my mouth. I reached with my other hand to get it off, but it pulled away before I could grab it. One finger extended and pointed upward, as if the hand was telling me to wait. This was insane. There was no way this could be real. I was still having a nightmare. The left arm surged forward and gripped my neck for a brief moment. Not a dream. It moved away and pointed to the door. "What?" I muttered, struggling to comprehend what was going on. The finger waggled at me again and then resumed pointing at the door. "What do you want?" I whispered at it. I must be going insane. I'm talking to my own arm. The arm made a walking gesture with 2 fingers and pointed at the door more aggressively. Whatever it wanted it badly. I got up and hobbled to the door. The arm pointed down the hall, and I followed. I didn't want to risk retaliation if I protested. It led me to an employees-only door and visibly demanded that I go in. Shuddering, I passed through the door. The arm led me down a series of hallways that eventually ended at the building's morgue. Why did it lead me here? Sounds of grunting and shaking metal came from inside. Then I heard Dr. Thorne's voice droning. I couldn't make out what he was saying, but it didn't carry that friendly demeanor that I'd come to know. The arm ushered me to go inside, with another pointed shushing gesture. I carefully crept through the door, making sure not to make a sound. I snuck behind a pile of supply bins in the corner of the room. Peeking through a gap in the stack, I saw Dr. Thorne clutching a large saw as he walked to an autopsy table. The body struggled on the table and let out a muffled cry of terror. That body wasn't dead. "You should be thanking me, sir," Dr. Thorne said to the frightened man on the table. "Thanking me for the opportunity to save a few lives." I looked at the arm on my left shoulder. The hand had tightened into a fist and was shaking violently. Did this arm belong to the last person the doctor put on that table? Were they alive too? Now then, I think your limbs will be suitable. Hopefully they don't try to strangle me like the last one. Dr. Thorne raised the saw. The arm pointed to a nearby table. I crept over. It grabbed a loaded syringe that Dr. Thorne had left prepared. I didn't know what was in it, but I could guess what the arm's plan was. I sneered at the doctor, whose back was still turned to me. I crept up behind him, careful not to make a sound. The arm raised, ready to plunge the syringe. Dr. Thorne started to turn around. I panicked. I had to act now or get caught by this madman. I lunged for him and grappled onto his back with the arm I could control. The other arm jabbed his neck and shoved the plunger. Dr. Thorne threw me off and pushed me to the ground. He raised the saw. Then his body started to spasm and go limp, and he fell dead to the floor beside me. I lay frozen on the cold ground for a moment, then remembered the man on the table and got up to set him free. I pried apart the bindings and helped the man to his feet. "Are you all right?" The man gasped for air, his breath shuddering. He was going to cut me up. "You're all right now. Let's get out of here." The police launched a massive investigation. They found evidence of over 15 victims who'd gone missing in recent months, all killed by Dr. Thorne and harvested for their organs and limbs. As for me, I was able to go home to the comfort of my family. My new left arm started doing what I wanted it to, but I always got the feeling it was just cooperating with me, rather than being fully under my control. Sometimes I still woke from nightmares of those horrible days, and I wondered if there were other people out there like me who had to live with parts not their own.